In general, your rule is anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. We've just learned this power rule, where when you have like bases, you subtract exponents. This is going to help you understand why anything to the 0 power equals 1. You all know that 5 divided by 5 is equal to 1. Well, the number 5s are to the first power. So if I apply this rule, I end up having 5, my common base, to the 1 minus 1. And so 1 minus 1 is 0, and 5 divided by 5 is 1. And that leads us to 5 to the 0. So that's why that's 1. That exponent is saying I don't have any more 5s left in the numerator or the denominator, but this is still multiplied by 1. Okay, so just keeping in mind that anything to the 0 power is equal to 1, let's go through a handful of these examples. Okay, so here I have 7 to the power of 1. So 7, any number to the 0 power, is equal to 1. Now, this one right here is a little bit different. Exponents don't reach very far. This -6 to the 0 power, a negative in front, is -1. That's this negative right here. So I'm going to highlight that in, let's say, green. And this -1 here. And then I have 6 to the 0 power. So this 0 is not on the negative, it is only on the 6. In order of operations tell us that we have to perform exponents before multiplication. So I'm going to highlight this 6 in red because that's the number that we're talking about of the any number to the 0 power equals 1. So this ends up being -1 multiplied by 1, because 6 to the 0 is 1, and then -1 times 1 is equal to -1. Okay, now this time, everything, we have -6 in parentheses to the 0 power. That's different. Everything in the set of parentheses is to the 0 power. So this does equal 1. Okay, this one here, everything is in parentheses. It's like, holy cow, this looks like a lot. But everything in the parentheses is raised to the 0 power. So this one equals 1. And then here, x to the 0, that x is to the 0 power, so that equals 1. Now in this one, the negative is on the outside, so if the negative is on the outside, it's just going to be hanging out there. So that is the -1. And then that's being multiplied by 4 to the 0. The number 4 is to the 0 power. So that is going to equal -1. And then the answer to 4 to the 0 is 1. And -1 times 1 is -1. This is one you want to be very careful on because you're used to hearing that mantra, negative makes a positive. This negative out front is -1. We have to do exponents before multiplication. So this negative is -1. And then I still have times -3 to the 0. Performing the exponents before the multiplication, the number -3 is to the 0 power. So I still have that -1 out front, and then the answer to -3 to the 0 is 1, and -1 multiplied by 1 is -1. And then I'm just going to come back up here and do one extra problem. If this one, let's say, would have been -x to the 0, then this would have been -1 multiplied by x to the 0. And then that is -1, and then the answer to x to the 0 is 1, so I would be multiplying those together, and it equals -1. So just be really careful with that kind of floating negative, that you rewrite it as -1 to emphasize the multiplication. And then if something is in parentheses, this one is not, the 4 is in there. The number 4 to the 0 is 1, but here the 0 is to everything in parentheses, so all of that turns into 1, and all of that turns into 1.